Dear students, this is Anand Bhushan Pandey, an assistant professor in PG Department of English, SB College, Ara. Today I am going to tell you about the famous Jacobean playwright John Webster. We will also discuss in brief about his The Duchess of Malfi. This part is prescribed for PG Semester 1 students in their unit CC3, that is entitled 15th to 17th century drama. So let us start talking about John Webster first. John Webster is regarded as the greatest post-Shakespearean dramatist. He flourished, he wrote in Jacobean age. As you know, that the reigning period of James I, that is 1603 to 1625, is regarded as Jacobean age, and John Webster wrote his most of the works during that period. But it is here noteworthy that the plays even written during Jacobean age also regarded sometimes or labeled sometimes as Elizabethan drama. And know why? Because the grandeur of the contribution of the Elizabethan dramatist was so great that its effect was coming down even till the age of Elizabethan age. That is why those dramas was also covered under the broad umbrella of Elizabethan drama. So far as the life and patronage of John Webster is concerned, let me tell you that it is not known to us. And whenever you find the date of birth, it is always with question mark. It means doubtful. So when you have doubt, it is not noteworthy to mention the date of his birth and date of his death, etc. Even about his patronage, we have little to say. But we have his two great works, and it is through these works that we peep into the nature and character of John Webster as a playwright. And these works were The White Devil, and the second one is The Duchess of Malfi, which is prescribed in your syllabus. So John Webster is said to be the most striking follower of Seneca. And do you know who is Seneca? Seneca was the Roman dramatist who was famous for establishing the revenge tradition in tragedy, in dramas. And it is said that John Webster was the most striking follower of John Webster. In fact, much of the Elizabethan and Jacobean dramas written by following the revenge tradition they followed or they were influenced by Seneca. If name a few, I may say that Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, Christopher Marlowe's The Jew of Malta, and the most famous, the first English revenge tragedy, you must say, was Thomas Kyd's The Spanish Tragedy. And John Webster's The White Devil and The Duchess of Malfi also follow the same revenge tradition, though it is also said that John Webster does not blindly follows the revenge tradition of Seneca. Rather, he modifies, and in fact sometimes it is called that he enriches the revenge tradition. So after having a look on John Webster, now we would start talking about the Duchess of Malfi, and I will try to give you a short summary of the play, The Duchess of Malfi, so that you can understand it in a better way. The Duchess of Malfi was written though much earlier, but it was published in 1623, and it makes Webster stand in the queue of the greatest masters of English tragedy. We come to know that when we read his The White Devil or The Duchess of Me, we that he is known for his talent devoted to the blood and horror plays. He was very much fond of you. Here, I must add that during the period when John Webster was writing, the audience had an appetite for horror and killings on the stage. They were very much fond of it. And so the dramatist, in order to satisfy that appetite, had to write some novels, some plays like that. The Duchess of Malfi is also not an exception to that tradition. It presents the Italian life of 16th century, which was full of vice, violence, and dishonor. It is the story of a young, beautiful, widowed duchess who was the Duchess of Malfi. Malfi is the name of the estate where she was the duchess. Her brothers Ferdinand and Cardinal forbid her to remarry, but the duchess marries her steward Antonio secretly. And marrying and marrying Antonio, her steward, was a matter of dishonor for the family because that was the court life. So in the early in the play, we come to know that perhaps it was the question of honor of the family that these two brothers did not want her sister to get remarried, but in fact she remarries it. These two brothers have some kind of suspicion regarding the character of their sister. That is why they employ Bosola as an spy so that he can get the news and inform them about her marriage. In the beginning of the play, sorry, now the Duchess knew that her marriage will infuriate her brother, but she was in love with her steward, and that is why she marries Bosula, and after the marriage, she gives birth to a child. Bosula discovers the secret of the birth of a son to Duchess by a horoscope that was mistakenly dropped by Antonio. But Bosola comes to know that there is a child of the Duchess, but he does not know who the father is. Then he tries to get the news and he gives this news to Ferdinand that she had married someone. But it is unknown to him that who is the father of the. She has given a birth of child also, but he does not know who is the father is. In the play, we come to know that 2 or 3 years pass. The Duchess has two more children. Ferdinand visits after a gap of 3 to 4 years Malfi and threatens to kill the Duchess and her husband for her this marriage. And as a symbol, he leaves a dagger in her room. It is symbol of that, and he leaves it. He leaves the room, and it suggests that she should kill herself with a dagger. Otherwise, she would be killed by them. The Duchess arranges the secret departure of Antonio to Anacona. She says that Antonio has been dismissed for the misappropriation of account, and that is why he has been dismissed, and he has fled from Malfi, and she doesn't know about it. When she believes, in the meantime, Bosola starts admiring. Out of suspicion, he starts admiring Antonio before Duchess, and takes the Duchess into his belief. In this way, the Duchess is deceived, and she discloses the secret of her marriage. Bosola is very much happy. And he then informs Ferdinand and Cardinal that she is married to Antonio. And he also comes to know that they have fled to Anaconda. Then Ferdinand and Cardinal comes, and the Duchess is arrested. She is imprisoned in her own castle. Then she resigns herself to fate with all her calm and fortitude. In her palace, she is tortured by her brothers in many ways. Sometimes she is offered a man's dead head in the dark, and then the light is switched on. She is shocked and surprised and horrified to look at that. After that, they give wax figures of her husband and her children in her hand, as if they were dead. Even then, they are not satisfied. Then they send some mad men from asylum to talk to her, to sing and dance before her. And ultimately, she is strangled to death. But here, even at the time of death, she does not feel the pain of death. And she welcomes death and says, "Pull and pull strongly, for your able strength must pull down the heaven upon me." And at the time of imprisonment, she is so calm, she is so resolute that her one line sentence make it clear. And she says that I am Duchess still. After the death, Ferdinand cannot see her dead face and says, "Cover her fine face, mine eyes dazzle, she died young." He repents his deed of murdering his sister, and he refuses to give reward to Bussola. And now it is Bussola gets infuriated, and he decides to take revenge upon the brothers. He goes to Cardinal, but in the dark mistakenly fatally wounded Antonio. Cardinal arrives there, and Bussola stabs him too. On hearing the cries, Ferdinand arrives and stabs Bussola, and in return, Bussola stabs Ferdinand. In fact, all are dead in turn of as a result of Bussola's revenge. And there are only two persons who are survivor. The eldest, sorry, the only one person is the survivor. That is the eldest son of the Duchess, who is the only survivor, and he inherits the estate of Malfi. Thus, we see that there are so many horrible plans and their executions on the stage before the play comes to an end. And it makes one of the greatest revenge tragedy written by John Webster. Thank you.